Spiritual enlightenment or awakening seems to be happening inside the mind or the brain or somewhere deep inside the character. It's not happening in the body. You cannot see it through the body. It happens here. So the conclusion is that if someone has a mental condition, he cannot, or it will be difficult for him or her to attain this state or to reach enlightenment. Of course, you can never reach enlightenment or attain this state because you are already this state, and it is located nowhere. There is no body, there is no mind, there is no soul. It happens nowhere to no one. So this misconception of where it happens is very logical, because you believe that you have a body and you have a mind, and there are physical illnesses and mental conditions and illnesses. It is true in the appearance of the story that you are a character with a body and a mind, and either that the body is sick or that your mind or sense of self is sick, and both cases are said. Sometimes it's combined. It is sickness, illness. Illness can happen in the body. Illness can happen in the mind, in the story. Illnesses of the body and the illnesses of the mind are the same thing, same expression of deficiency, of lacking of something. There is no balance. Something is imbalanced inside the story and the character. The reason for this imbalance, of course, is the need of the separate form to express itself in the highest way it can and evolve and reach its highest potential inside her story. So it finds the exact obstacle for the character. Sometimes it could be a physical condition, and sometimes it could be a mental condition or illness. There are many ways in which the mind can be disturbed and play with itself, and mental illnesses do that. They explore the way the character perceives itself. There is no running or hiding from this torture, because it is inside the mind and the head. It's so close to the character. He cannot escape it. It's not visible to the outside world. You can seem just fine, look like a regular person, just doing what he should be doing, and inside something else is happening, something bad. And no one can see that, because you cannot see the mental illnesses outside the body. And it is torture for this character. So much suffering, physical suffering, but at least physical suffering is more relatable it's more understood, it's visible, you can see that, you can fight, and you don't blame yourself so much for your physical conditions. Something is wrong with the body. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. But with a mental condition, on top of this mental illness, there is a sense of blame. I'm not good enough, or I did that to myself, or I'm not strong enough to cope with this mental illness. And there's some kind of self-blaming or reproach. This endless mind game of the person, the character, with himself, herself. This is avoidable, this I can handle. And sometimes it is because of me. I'm not doing something right, so of course this is a mistake. Mental illnesses are excruciating, just as physical illnesses. Torturing, unbearable, and they create such misery because they happen to the character, inside the character, and it seems like the character inflicts it on itself, like you can prevent it, but it is a childish approach, because much like anything else the character is built of, its story, its background, its character, everything about it, its body. Also the mind and this mental state is pre-planned and arranged by this oneness to the character itself, and creates the perfect conditions for the character to move through the story. Mental illnesses cannot prevent the character from evolving through the mental illness. On the contrary, mental illnesses are a greater opportunity for the character to grow and to reach a word I use because I have to, and to be this state. They are a greater opportunity because they are deeper than physical illnesses. They go deeper. They go inside the very essence of being human. This is what's being human all about, this constructing of the character, what's happening inside the structure. There are many names for these mental illnesses, which I cannot pronounce in English, like bipolar, or anxiety, or, in Simcha's case, hypochondria. Sometimes the character needs medication to control this storm inside, this invisible storm inside the mind. It needs psychiatrists and it needs medications, sometimes to be in a hospital, just to gain this touching the ground, feeling like you are connected to something. You are not going crazy. You are going crazy and you need some kind of balance. It only shows if you are dealing with a mental illness or you know someone, and everyone knows someone who is dealing with mental illnesses, that this expression of something wrong inside the mind, it exemplified the fact that this character has a different kind of challenge, an interesting kind of challenge through which she has to move through. She has to find and fight for the positive forces inside the structure of the character and follow them and project them as best as she can. This is the triumph of the character over the mind. Sometimes, like in the physical illnesses world, unfortunately, it cannot be done. Sometimes the illness of the body kills the body. This is part of the story, part of the plan, and sometimes a mental illness is so powerful that the character cannot cope with it. So it's not a physical death, but the character seems to be beyond salvation, beyond returning to a normal state, just getting lost. It's also a story. Mental illnesses cannot prevent attaining or being the natural state, no matter what the state is. The craziness is not or does not belong only to the ones with mental illnesses. This is a great misconception because humanity is mentally ill. It has severe case of paranoia and anxiety and just, if we look at the way humanity is conducting itself, we can easily see that everyone is acting crazy all the time. And they follow the social rules and the rules of society, so, and they look normal and they act in a normal kind of way. They don't burst or they don't question themselves or others, and it seems like everyone is acting normally, but they are acting, humanity acts in a normal way in the scale of what is normal to humanity. And what is normal for humankind right now is craziness. So everyone is acting normally to this abnormal state of humanity. It's like there is an asylum of crazy people. They cannot tell what is real and what is not. All of them. All of them are inside the asylum. This is the state of humanity right now, and inside this asylum there is a special section of people with mental illnesses that they act a little differently inside the asylum, and they don't follow the rules of this asylum, and so they are considered crazy. But they are considered crazy because the other patients in this asylum consider themselves as if they are healthy and have some kind of true perception of what is real and what is not real. They are the same. So mental illnesses do not divide this society to two kinds of people. Ones that are connected to what is true and real and they are normal, and others with mental conditions that have stepped out of this line of what is normal. All of them have the same problem. The ones without the mental illnesses, and I cannot see one person without some kind of mental distraction of some nature. It can be a minor one, it can be something very specific, but each character has something that inside its nature is some kind of illnesses of the mind. The story, and an inevitable part of the story, because there was some kind of trauma, and this is the way the story is unfolding. It is natural. And if it's a mental illness, that it's like some kind of heritage from your parents, it's hereditary and it happens to you. It's also part of the story why the character has parents that gave her this. It's like a present, like in Sleeping Beauty, the Wicked Witch. She brings an awful kind of present that the princess will die, or that she will sleep for 100 years or something, but this is her present. This is part of the story, and without this awful, terrible present, there would not be a story, and we would not tell this story. So this is an awful present, but it is their present, the present they gave you for your story. This is your heritage. This is how you were built. So each condition is the present the character gets. An awful kind of present, a terrible kind of present, the only one that can enable the character to express a story. And we seemingly can't control the choosing of what will be our problem in the story. And we could try to imagine, oh, I would never choose such a mental illness for myself, and this would be my story. But the fact that you have this kind of state shows that you did choose this state to be yours. And now the only question is, what are you going to do? What are you doing with this state? And this is double, a triple, endless challenge, because as I said, it's harder than physical agony or suffering. It is self-torture inside the brain, and you torture yourself because you cannot succeed in coping with this mental illness. So it's a vicious, vicious circle of wanting to cope with it and cannot, and then blaming yourself that you are not doing something right, or blaming everything else, or trying again, and the desperation, because it seems like this is an endless and hopeless way. But it is not hopeless, and what Simcha is trying to say, as always, she's speaking from her own experience, and this is the only story she can tell, and she's telling it here. Her mental illness was anxiety and hypochondria. Severe hypochondria, and the suffering of the character was immense. It seemed hopeless. She would try to laugh at herself, but she couldn't because it was too awful. And she used to reproach herself because she knew, like, there's nothing wrong with you. Why are you torturing me so much? I know that there is nothing wrong with you. You are healthy. Leave me alone. Let me be. It was an immense and endless inner fight. No one could see that struggle. And it happened to the character not after Simcha was cured from her hypochondria. She was not cured. She did not reach a state in which she said, okay, now I'm mentally healthy. Come on, bring this other thing. She was not mentally healthy when the shift happened. She was, up until the moment of this shift and transformation, she was mentally ill. So this character's conclusion, or this thing, is saying that you can, no matter what your state is, know what you are, even if so. What this character Simcha is saying, and this oneness is saying, is that if it happened to a character named Simcha that was mentally ill, and she was, she suffered immensely, but it did happen to her. So it can happen to anyone, no matter what his condition is or hers. It can happen through this state. And the great thing is that it is the cure for every mental illness possible. It is the cure. Because the acknowledgement or realization of what the separate form is detaches the character, acknowledges that the character is not the true identity of what is, and so the problems of this fake fictional character are a story, and no one is affected by this story. So if it is a physical illness or a state, the detachment from the character will show, okay, this woman has diabetes. This is her state. Not mine. Not oneness' state. Oneness is all nothingness is never ill. It cannot be ill. It cannot suffer. So you are this state. In the same way, the physical body stays after a shift and is recognized as a story, a mental illness is. Because what the character Simcha learned or knows or expresses now, hypochondria was part of the character of Simcha's life. This was her illness. And when the shift happened, it was recognized as such, as a line inside her story. So this line, like her physical body or her voice or her tendencies, did not vanish. It is still there. Hypochondria is still inside the line of the character. It is not a magic cure that says that the character gets rid of the hypochondria. The character does not get rid of anything, not of the body, not of the thoughts, let's call them, not of the emotions, yes, but not of the lines that constructed the character. So it does not get rid of them. It is also part of the character. But it is a character inside the story, and the character is seeing something in the mirror and saying, okay, what is that? This is going to kill me. Or, oh my God, this man's head is aching. He's going to die. And of course, there is no one who is thinking these hypochondriac thoughts. They just appear. And just like Teflon, they don't stay. The character absorbs. It's like a sponge. It absorbs everything, so it gets bigger and bigger. It's full of everything it absorbs. And this state of the shift, it's like something slides over something. Nothing stays. No one to keep, no Teflon, nothing to keep the thing, nothing to absorb anything. So also hypochondriac thinking of the character does not stay more than a second, and usually being laughed at innerly by this all nothingness, compassion for the character. So all nothingness is compassion and has created this thing for itself and knows exactly what it means to struggle from inside. But it can also bring the character the ultimate cure of acceptance of the character and its nature, and freeing from the character, detaching from the character, and compassionately accompanying this character inside her life. So there is no need for despair. Even if someone you know or you are suffering from some kind of mental illness, it only shows that the character tries to overcome something very, very deep. Overcome, and I don't mean that she has to overcome it, because as I mentioned, the character Simcha did not overcome her state and was cured and received a letter from the doctor, you are cured. She did not. She was in a state of mental illness when the shift happened. All she did was try her best to cope with it and try to accept the fact that this is how she is built. This is her nature, this is what she is. And forgive herself and accept herself. And she tried to laugh at herself. And it was, looking at it now, it was very funny, her hypochondriac thinking and anxiety, the way she made herself suffer by imagining impossible things and believing that they are true, and this constant knowing that she's going to die any second. So it was funny, but she did try to continue her life with this burden, immense burden, and not to lie to others that everything is okay, but to truly try to be with other people and see how she can just be in the moment and just act inside it, knowing that this thing is not going anywhere and it is waiting for her when everything will quiet down. But in the meantime, she tried to act and tried. So only thing that you can do is try to act through this immense difficulty, through this immense challenge. It is a beautiful and awful challenge for the character. Try to move through it. You cannot win this thing like in a blow until you do, until you are released from this mental condition, no matter what it is. It can be very, very severe, and you can suffer for many years. But it is always, and there is always, a point which is not the character, which is you, your true nature, your true self, and this invisible point inside or outside or everything inside the body, or you can never know where it is, but this thing, this point is you, and it is uncontaminated, unpolluted by any kind of illness. It is pure, it is very, very healthy and free, and it is you. And so the acknowledgement of what you are will be your own salvation. It is not curing this line inside the character, it is only acknowledging that this problem is not real and it's not yours.